Based on the UN AIDS Global AIDS statistics in 2017, an estimated 36.9 million people were living with HIV, 1.8 million people became newly infected, 940,000 people died from AIDS-related illnesses, and an estimated 21.7 million people living with HIV were accessing antiretroviral therapy, an increase of 8 million over 2010. In the Bahamas, a UN-recommended statistical modeling software estimated that 5,287 people were living with HIV at the end of 2017, accounting for 1.3% of the population. Further, there were 151 new HIV cases, an 81% decrease since the peak in 1994. That same year, new male HIV diagnosis exceeded female diagnosis by 60% to 40%, and persons within the age group of 30 to 39 accounted for the largest number of new diagnoses, representing 28% of new infections. Meantime, AIDS-related deaths, which peaked in 1996, have decreased by 71% in 2017, with a total of 92 deaths. Figures also reveal that the rate of mother-child transmission of HIV decreased from 25% at its peak in 1996 to 2% in 2017. A major milestone was the institution of Test and Treat at the end of 2015. Last year, 56% of the people living with HIV in the Bahamas were on treatment, and 69% on treatment were virally suppressed. However, despite the inroads, officials accept that there is still much more work to do, as only 39% of persons living with HIV in the Bahamas are virally suppressed on a whole. World AIDS Day is observed on the 1st of December. This year marks its 30th anniversary. You're all invited to show your support for people and families affected by HIV on this World AIDS Day by giving a hug, a smile, support AIDS-related causes, of course, wear a red ribbon, the international symbol of HIV awareness and support. Meantime, the government hopes to breach the pay gap between men and women here in the Bahamas, which a United Nations report found was a nearly 30% disparity. Here's Social Services Minister Frankie Campbell's take on the issue.
The ministry can speak to what the government is doing. The government is leading the way in ensuring that there is equal pay for equal value of work, whether it's done by a man or a woman. There may be the need for some work in the private sector, and that will call for strengthening some legislation. But I believe that once the government leads the way, the private sector will come along.
Echoing those sentiments was wife of the Prime Minister, Patricia Minnis, who says it's certainly something worth advocating for.
Women in the corporate world and women in government will look at how that we can make that adjustment, and we can advocate to have an adjustment, because if I am a permanent secretary in government as a female and there's a male counterpart who has equal years and education, then there's no reason why my pay should not. So now that we have this data, there could be comparison, and we have to work on making equal work pay for equal work, regardless of gender.
The UN's Human Development Index estimates the gross national income per capita for men at $31,394, while women take home $22,156. The estimated average income for women is more than $4,000 less than the country's gross national income of $26,681. Meantime, some 52,364 BPL consumers throughout the country have benefited from the $200 value-added tax exemption on electricity based on figures tabled in the House of Assembly. As Works Minister Desmond Bannister disclosed of this figure, 37,304 were New Providence residents, 3,727 in Abaco, 3,570 in Eleuthera, 1,512 in Exuma, and 1,352 in Long Island. The minister was at the time seeking to dismiss the argument that the $200 VAT exemption on electricity would not make a difference. The government recently decided to up the $200 to $300 to be reflected in the January power bill. Here are some of those likely to benefit.
In Abercrombie, there were 4,556 people whose bills were under 300.
Not a 1,500.
In Athens, 176. In Bimini, 985. In Black Point, the whole population, 54.
Wow.
In Cat Island, 828.
Not 100 or so out.
In Central Andros, 559. In Crooked Island, 102. In Luther, 4,085.
In New Providence, that figure is pegged at 46,595, contributing to a total of 64,085 people.
PPL is making an earnest attempt to deal with the challenges that we face. In the next year or so, Speaker, we will see the testing of prepaid meters, and so that we will pay as we go for electricity. We're going to see many of us who can understand our billing as we go, pay for it as we go, and appreciate the importance of consuming power.
The minister went on to tout a number of renewable initiatives, including a 5-year plan in this regard. Plans are also afoot to take the Prime Minister's office off the grid and to ensure that every vehicle attached to that office is electric.
Same House of Assembly, we're looking to have a roof-mounted facility that can produce 12 kilowatts at a cost of $30,000.
You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.